Hi, you're listening to the Love and Money Podcast with Shakira. Today I'm going to talk to you about the top 1% and what does the top 1% mean. So basically, the top 1% has a net worth of $11.1 million. Dollars. And that is the definition of the top 1%. So I had someone on my podcast that I was interviewing who is a one percenter. And I didn't know what that meant. So I really didn't think anything about it, to tell you the truth. But it did make me go back and look to research what is a one percenter. So he's on my podcast and letting me know he's a one percenter. And I really could care less because I didn't know what that meant. Um, so in my podcast, I've been podcasting for 2 years now. And so what I do is I interview millionaires and people who still believe in love. And so I've learned that there's something called a multimillionaire. I had never heard of that term before. I've heard of millionaire, but I've never heard of multimillionaire. And so the reason why I started the podcast is to expose you and myself to people who we generally do not have contact with. And so it's just real interesting to ask questions and listen to them and hear them talk because it is exposing um, you and me to different areas of life that we may not have been otherwise exposed to if it weren't for the internet generation. So I just want to share that with you. You may know already, but the 1%, their net worth is $11.1 million. Dollars. And so that's the top 1%. Their average annual income is $758,434, and there are 1.4 million people who are in the top 1%. According to the IRS, they paid 40% in federal taxes. The 1% are comprised of medical professionals, entrepreneurs, executives, and people who have inherited their wealth. So this one percenter on my podcast, he achieved his through rental property, buying rental property. So that's what's going on with the 1%. The net worth again is 11.1 million. And then there's also something called the top 10%. The top 10%, the net worth is $1.2 million. And so I just think that these definitions are interesting because how do you know what to aspire to if there are things out there that you've never even heard of? So I just find it interesting to explore and to expose. And so while I'm exploring, I'm going to share the journey with you. But there is one thing that is more important than money. And guess what that one thing is? I'll give you a second to think about it. So that one thing that's more important than money is God. God is more important than money. And then there's something else that is more important than money, and that is love. Love being your family, the people who care about you, the people who support you. I mean, if you have all the money in the world and you don't have anybody to share it with, what's the purpose of having it? And some people may disagree with me on that, but um, love would be very important. So, so anyway, that's what's going on with the top 1%. And then, like I said before, the top 10% is 1.2 million net worth. The richest person in the world is Jeff Bezos. His net worth is $185 billion. And then with the new administration, there are some proposed changes with the tax rate, the difference in how they tax the wealthy versus the middle class. Um, some people have issues with that because they are taxed at a lower tax rate based on whatever businesses they own. Even though the IRS stated that they paid 40% in federal taxes, there are some different numbers coming up based on my research because there are some proposed changes in the administration. So currently, the tax rate is 37% for people who earn 518,000 a year, and the proposed change would be to hike that tax rate to 39.6%, starting at a salary of $400,000 per year. So the proposed change is to increase the tax rate from 37% to 39.6%. In addition, there are some proposed changes on the way they tax capital gains and dividends. And so they plan to raise that to 39.6%. It's currently at 20%. So, capital gains is any profit that you make from selling something. So, say example, you have a house that's worth 100,000, and then you stay in it long enough for it to increase to 200,000, or you sell it for 200,000. So that profit would be a hundred thousand. The 200,000 minus the 100,000. The profit would be 100,000. So if you had to pay capital gains on that profit, which would be 100,000, normally you would be paying 20%. But due to the new administration, if this change goes through, that would increase to 39.6%. The plan is also to increase the corporate tax rate to 28%. And so that way, the plan is to increase all of the taxes on the wealthy. Um, so that is what's going on uh, as far as the taxes, and then as far as the definitions of the differences between the top 1%. And then, like I said before, there is a top 10%. And the top 10% net worth is $1.2 million. So I just thought that would be interesting just to know what the definitions are, just to see what people are doing out here. And then you can choose to aspire to that if that is something that you're interested in, or if it's something that you're not interested in, then um, basically you wouldn't be aspiring to it because you're not interested in it. So I just thought it was interesting to bring up and something to share. So this is the Love and Money Podcast with Shakira. If you like this podcast, please share it with one other person. And please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you. Thank you for listening.